Unclean instead of a husband. Shortly before the beginning of the Great Patriotic War, my great-grandmother Maria married fellow villager Ivan. They had just got married, and then the Germans attacked. Ivan was drafted into the army. After some time, Ivan began to come home at night. He told me that he managed to escape for a short time from a nearby unit. Maria was always surprised, asked him how he did it, but Ivan avoided answering. After spending the night with his wife, the husband went back to the unit. Then Maria stopped asking to find out how Ivan managed to escape. I was just glad that my husband was coming home, alive and healthy, even if only for a short time. After some time, Maria began to wither in front of her eyes, collapsed, became very thin and turned pale. Her strength was leaving her every day. And an old woman lived next door to Maria. Noticing these strange things, she approached her to find out what was happening. And although Ivan strictly forbade them to talk about their visits otherwise, they say, he might be imprisoned or even shot as a deserter, Maria opened up to her neighbor. Then the old woman explained to her that the unclean person himself was coming to her. Maria, of course, did not believe what she heard. Then the neighbor suggested that when Ivan comes again and they sit down at the table, drop the fork on the floor and, bending over behind it, look at his feet. The main thing is not to give yourself away, even if you see something strange. When Maria, following the advice of her neighbor, crawled under the table for a fork, instead of her husband's legs, she saw something like hooves. She barely restrained herself so as not to cry out in horror. But still she persevered, sat with Ivan until the end of the feast. And when the guest tried to caress her, she referred to a female illness. Soon Ivan left. Early in the morning, Maria ran to the old woman and told everything. A neighbor advised her to draw crosses with chalk on all the shutters, above the front door, on the stove shutter. In general, wherever it was possible to get into the house. Maria did so. Exactly at midnight, the husband came to the house and began to call his wife. He literally begged her to come to his front porch. Maria refused, said that she was afraid, and offered Ivan to come in, as he always did. The guest persuaded the woman for a long time, but she kept refusing. After another no, he entered the house with a walker. The shutters were shaking, the windows were rattling, and there was a deafening roar in the chimney. With the first crowing of the rooster, everything died down. The unclean one did not come again. Maria got better. When the real Ivan returned home from the war, she told him this story. The husband replied that immediately after the draft they were taken to another town. He could not leave his unit and run away home. And then he fought far from his native places. So, a terrible fate would probably await my great-grandmother, if her old neighbor did not save her.